She had learned long ago that silence was safer than tears. The desert wind carried dust across the dry plains, whispering through mesquite bushes and rattling the loose boards of the small wooden shack where she once called home. The land stretched wide and unforgiving under the burning sun of the Arizona territory. To most, it was just another corner of the Wild West. To her, it was a cage. Her name was Ayanna. She was born among the Apache, raised with stories of brave warriors, sacred mountains, and spirits that watched over the people. As a child, she had run barefoot over the warm earth, laughing with the other children, believing the world was as vast and free as the sky above her. But freedom can be stolen quietly. Her father had once been a proud hunter. After her mother died from fever, something in him hardened. The years that followed brought drought, hunger, and endless skirmishes with settlers pushing into their lands. He began trading more often at the frontier posts, exchanging hides and horses for whiskey. Whiskey changed him. At first, it was only anger. Then it became cruelty. When Ayanna turned 17, she noticed the way strangers began looking at her when they came to trade. White men with heavy boots and cold smiles. One of them, a trader from a nearby settlement, lingered too long. He spoke with her father in hushed tones one evening while she fetched water from the creek. She heard the laughter. She saw the exchange. A pouch, heavy with coins. That night, her father did not meet her eyes. "You will go with him," he said flatly. Ayanna felt as if the earth had opened beneath her. "I am not a horse to be traded." "You are my daughter," he replied, his voice sharp, "and this is what keeps us alive." She realized then that survival meant more to him than her soul. The trader planned to take her at sunrise. She did not wait for sunrise. Under the cover of night, she gathered what little she could, a worn blanket, a small knife her mother once gave her, and a leather pouch with dried herbs. The moon was thin, but bright enough to guide her steps. She moved like a shadow, careful not to wake her father. As she reached the edge of the settlement, she looked back once. She did not cry. The desert at night was cold and merciless. Coyotes howled in the distance. Every snap of a twig made her heart race. She walked until her feet blistered, until her breath came in ragged gasps. By dawn, she had crossed into open territory, land claimed by ranchers and patrolled by men who did not welcome strangers. Behind her, she knew, men would be searching. The trader paid good money. By midday, the sun was relentless. Her throat burned with thirst. She stumbled across dry terrain, vision blurring. In the distance, she saw a line of fencing and beyond it, a small ranch house with smoke curling from its chimney. She hesitated. Approaching a white man's ranch could mean death, but staying in the open meant certain capture. Her legs gave out before she could decide. Daniel Mercer had not expected to find trouble that afternoon. He was mending a broken section of fence when he noticed something near the cottonwood trees by the creek, a shape that did not belong. At first, he thought it was a fallen calf. Then the shape moved. He approached cautiously, rifle slung over his shoulder. What he found was a young woman collapsed in the dust. Her dark hair was tangled, her clothes torn from travel. Even unconscious, her face held a quiet defiance. An Apache. Daniel had seen enough violence between settlers and tribes to know this could be dangerous. Harboring her might bring conflict, but leaving her there in the heat was a death sentence. He knelt and poured a small stream of water onto her lips. Her eyes fluttered open instantly, sharp and alert despite exhaustion. She tried to reach for something at her side, likely a weapon, but she was too weak. "I won't hurt you," Daniel said quietly, lowering his rifle to the ground. She did not trust his words. He saw it clearly, but she did not have the strength to run. He lifted her carefully and carried her to the ranch house. When Ayana awoke, she expected chains. Instead, she found herself on a simple bed inside a modest wooden room. Sunlight filtered through thin curtains. The scent of coffee and wood smoke filled the air. She sat up quickly, wincing at the pain in her legs. The door creaked open. The cowboy stepped inside, hat in hand. "You're safe here. Name's Daniel." She studied him. He looked to be in his early 30s, with sun-worn skin and tired but steady eyes. "Why?" she asked. He seemed confused. "Why what?" "Why help me?" He paused before answering. "Because leaving you out there wasn't an option." Simple words, no grand speech. She had never known kindness without cost. "My father sold me," she said bluntly. "Men will come." Daniel's jaw tightened slightly. "Let them." Over the next few days, she regained her strength. She learned the layout of the ranch, the barn, the well, the small corral with 2 horses. Daniel lived alone. He had lost his wife years ago to illness. Since then, the ranch had been quiet. Until now. Ayana offered to work in exchange for shelter. He refused payment but accepted her help. She repaired torn fabric, gathered eggs, and moved with quiet efficiency around the property. Trust did not come easily to either of them, but something softer began to grow in the silence between chores. At night, they sat on opposite ends of the porch. He would whittle wood. She would watch the stars. "Where will you go?" he asked once. "Somewhere no one owns me," she replied. He nodded. 3 weeks passed before trouble arrived. They came at dusk, 3 riders kicking up dust along the horizon. Ayana saw them first. Her breath caught. Even at a distance, she recognized the trader's broad frame. Daniel stepped beside her, rifle in hand. "You can hide," he said quietly. She shook her head. "No more hiding." The riders unmounted roughly. "That girl belongs to me," the trader called out, "paid fair and square." Daniel's voice was calm but firm. "She's not property." The trader laughed. "Everything's property out here." Ayana stepped forward, her chin lifted. "I am not yours," she said clearly. The men exchanged glances. One reached for his gun. Time slowed. Daniel moved first, firing a warning shot in the dirt at their feet. "Next one won't miss," he warned. Tension crackled in the air. The trader sneered. "You think you can protect her forever?" Daniel did not lower his weapon. Long enough. For a moment, it seemed blood would stain the dust. But the trader calculated the risk. 3 men against a determined rancher with home advantage. It was not worth dying over a purchase. "This ain't over," he spat, before mounting his horse. They rode off, leaving only swirling dust behind. Ayana's legs trembled once the danger passed. Daniel placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to run anymore." Tears threatened her composure for the first time since she fled, not because she was afraid, but because someone had chosen her freedom over profit. In the weeks that followed, word spread quietly that Daniel Mercer was not a man to cross. The trader never returned. Life on the ranch settled into a new rhythm. Ayana planted a small garden near the creek. She taught Daniel how to grind herbs for healing. He showed her how to ride one of the younger horses properly saddled. Laughter began to echo across the once silent land. One evening, as the sky burned orange and purple, Daniel approached her by the fence line. "You could leave," he said gently, "if you want to find your people." She looked across the open plains. For the first time, the horizon did not look like an escape. It looked like possibility. "My people are those who do not try to own me," she said softly. His hand found hers, hesitant at first. She did not pull away. The Wild West remained harsh and unpredictable. Conflicts still flared beyond their lands. The desert winds still howled at night. But within the boundaries of that small ranch, something stronger than fear had taken root. Ayana was no longer a daughter sold for coins. She was no longer prey. She was a woman who had crossed the desert alone, faced men who thought they owned her, and found a place where her voice mattered. And beside her stood a cowboy who understood that love was not possession. It was protection, respect, and choice. Under the endless western sky, they built a life not defined by trade or violence, but by freedom. And for the first time, Ayana slept without listening for footsteps in the dark.